Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with the Soul. I'm Rita Hickman, a body-mind expert and shiatsu massage therapist in the Chicagoland area. So we're in fall, as you can see from my woods, out here in northern Illinois, and you'll be able to every day watch my woods change a little bit. It's one of the things that I love most about living here is that I get to watch the seasons up close. So I'm glad I get to share one of my favorite spots with you. So today's topic is, of course, all week we've been doing metaphysical energy, and today's topic is specifically on healing your heart. So it's about how we heal our emotions through our body. So a lot of people ask me, whether, I'm a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a counselor, things along those lines. And even though, good morning, Kathy, even though how the psyche works is completely fascinating to me, it's even more interesting to me how the body-mind works, how we do things through our senses. It's one of the reasons I got into massage therapy rather than something like counseling or psychotherapy, because I'm someone who's very sensory oriented. I'm a Taurus, so I love my senses. I love food, I love texture, I love color, I love nature, I love beauty. I love all those things that are very sensory oriented, and so that's kind of where my passion came in. And fortunately for me, when I started down the road of needing a new career about 10 years ago or so, I was a teacher, an educator, and I managed natural areas before then. In massage therapy, I really found my niche. And it wasn't in traditional massage therapy, it was in shiatsu massage therapy, because shiatsu, as you hopefully know by now, good morning, Angela, is about the body-mind. Is about a much bigger picture. It's Asian medicine, which I just resonates with me like a clear bell. So I fell in love with and got passionate about how do we use the body-mind in order to heal virtually anything. How can we heal our mental state, our relationships, our family? How can we heal all these different aspects of our life through the body? And in our Western society, we really don't think about that. And I don't know how many people across the world, except, Asian medicine, Eastern medicine, thinks about it that way as well. I know Ayurvedic medicine does too, of how do we heal the bigger system through different portals or different doorways. And mine was, how do we heal things using the body? So fascinatingly enough, I'm sure with Asian medicine, you've seen the little pictures running around, of naked people that have lines running up and down their body, front and back, with thousands of points, thousands of little dots all over their body. Those, good, I'm glad you like it, Kathy, I do too. Thousands of dots all over their body. And maybe you're experienced in these, maybe you've gotten acupuncture, maybe you've read a little bit about acupressure, or you've done work on stretching in the meridians. Perhaps you've visited with it or played with it a little bit. So let me give you a little bit more about this. One of the biggest foundations of Asian medicine are the meridians, that our body is made up of energetic, almost like ley lines, energetic lines that run through our body. And very cool enough, science has started to find them. It's always been something that was mystical and magical, and maybe somebody made it up. But after thousands of years, good morning, Shamila, after thousands of years, that's where Eastern medicine came from. Not from some pop psychology, not from, some pharmaceutical company, but from thousands and thousands of years of studying how we actually work, and being aware of the differences and how you could heal one thing through very specific points in the body. So Eastern medicine, its biggest focus is on these energetic lines that run through the body. Good morning, Teresa. And how you can work with or affect these energetic lines in order to heal all sorts of things, in order to heal, anything that actually exists. You're able to heal through one portal, or another. So during the week, we've talked about energy. So let me do a quick recap. We talked about energy. What is energy? According to Eastern medicine, energy is everything that exists. Everything, good morning, Ro. Everything that exists can fit into one of these, one of 5 elements. And the elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And they are metaphors. They're metaphors for things which are 3D. So everything that you look at is not you're welcome. So everything that you look at, let's say your carpet, is not just your carpet. It's got a sense, it's to it, how it feels. It's got, you have an emotional attachment or detachment to it. It's got a color. It's got a shape and a texture. It's got all sorts of facets to it. So when we look at something, we need to look at it as if it's 3D, not as if it's a picture on a piece of paper, but actually as if it's got facets and aspects that we might not be paying attention to. So then we talked about how we are a system, how because everything is interconnected, you can affect one part of a system through a different portal. So let's say you can affect your thoughts through your body, or you can affect your body through your thoughts, or you can affect your emotions through your body. There's all this interconnectedness. And that brings us back around to why I ended up in shiatsu massage therapy again, which is my passion, and my favorite part of it was the body. And I really studied and paid attention to how can we heal everything in our life through the body. So, okay, I'm going to give a really good example today because this happened to me recently. And so it's always good to use, life stories. So recently I had a friend of mine who did something which I thought was insensitive, and it hurt my feelings. Now, usually, when my feelings get hurt, I'm able to process through it pretty quick. But this time I wasn't. Now, for most people, what happens is when someone hurts our feelings, we tend to go to the next step in line. We end up being very curious. When we're sad, when someone hurts us and we're sad, our mind starts to go into an obsessive loop. It starts to be like, why? Why did this happen? Why did you do this to me? Why do I feel this way? Where does this come from? Is it my mother issues? Is it my father issues? Oh no, and we end up spending, good morning, Stevie, and we end up spending all of this time going around in circles and distracting ourselves and not really fixing the real problem that might be going on. So our tendency is to, as I said, go to the next thing in line. When someone hurts us, go to the next thing in line and obsess about why they hurt us, why we were hurt, and do this whole mind pretzel thing. Well, let me tell you, that's a rabbit hole, because your mind is designed to try to make sense or make reason of how we feel or why something happens. But usually it's not operating on all of the information, because our conscious mind is only a couple tablespoons of our whole brain. It's a very small part of our whole body, but we're trying to think our way through what might be going on. And our conscious mind isn't always really well connected to our subconscious or to our body mind. And because of that, it's trying to solve a problem based on very little information. But that's what we've depended upon or relied upon, is how can my conscious mind figure out what's going on? Some of us have then gone the intuitive route of how can, my intuition, my subconscious tell me what's going on. But there's actually another route, which is also what's going on in my unconscious, what's going on in my body that I'm not aware of that's affecting these things. What's going on, is there an imbalance somewhere physically that I can clear up that will solve a lot of these problems? So when I have an emotion, my tendency anymore, it's because I understand we're a big system, is not to spend a lot of time obsessing about why did they do this? I don't understand what's going on, and setting myself up time and time again to have my feelings hurt, to misinterpret things, and to walk through life and wondering why everybody is so insensitive and thoughtless and hurting my feelings. So I said, once again, that's kind of a rabbit hole. If you work your way backwards, you'll be able to start figuring out where the real issue may be. So in our system of how we work, all of our 5 elements, I don't know if you remember, I don't know, what was it, 10, 15 years ago, there was a show that was called The Weakest Link. And I didn't like the show because I thought it was rude. But I liked the concept of let's look for the weakest link. And Asian medicine is based directly on that. It's not based on what were your mother issues and what did your mother do to you and, when were you damaged in the past. It says, no, what is the weakest link in your system? So that takes us back to the 5 elements, and we start to trace things back. I had a 350-pound Ojibwe mentor who always said, follow it back, follow it back. So he didn't necessarily mean follow it back to your past history, and make it a mind game, but follow back the system, what's going on. So I had a friend of mine who hurt my feelings the other day, and I said, okay, what's really going on here? And what was happening was my fire was low. What leads into sadness? Sadness, and this may be a little bit difficult to follow, but every time I say this, it'll start to make more sense. So every time we talk about Asian medicine and every time we talk about these concepts, it'll start to make sense and fit in. So when I felt sad, I was dealing with my metal element. If I go to the obsessive part of me, the next piece in line, I would be in my wood, or my curiosity and my questioning and newness and vulnerability but if I follow it back, I'd look at fire, and fire is kind of like our life force. It's that passion, it's summer. So my fire is low. Why is my fire low? Because I'm a little bit sick. I'm dealing with a little bit of a head cold. Why is my fire low? Why did I get sick? Oh, what comes before fire? That would be water. Why have I not been taking enough time to bring in my fluids and to nurture myself and to have that dream time? Why is that? Oh, it's because what's been going on with my earth? Well, because I've been distracted. And doing things. I haven't been taking as good of care of myself as I could. Hence, that led to a low life force. Hence, that led to sensitivity and having my feelings hurt. So then there's one more piece. Then you go back one more and you say, okay, well, why have I been distracted? Oh, because I've been doing these great new projects. I've been having all these wonderful things happen, and I've been excited and dive right in, and that's then caused the whole chain. So the question then is, what's the weakest link in your system? And the weakest link in my system right now is my water. It's the fact that I haven't been nurturing myself, taking that dream time that I usually take, that I usually allow in my life. All that time to relax and check in and be sensitive. So what does all of this have to do with the body? Asian medicine, Eastern medicine believes that you can affect thoughts, feelings, emotions, physicality through the body. And so if my water is weak, if my water is depleted, there are meridians. There are lines in my body associated with that. So the meridians associated with that are bladder and kidney. So I have a bladder channel that runs, from the back of my head and down on either side of my spine and down my legs. That's my yang, my masculine energy. And I have my kidney channel, which runs on the front of my body. And they affect each other, back and forth. So my kidney is my yin. So if I wanted to, and I do, I love this stuff, I would look at how I would get acupressure done, I would get body work and massage done on my bladder channel down my back, and you know how good that feels, and on my kidney channel on my front. And by bringing energy to those areas, by pulling energy from areas that are too full into the parts of me which are empty, then I will stop being so sensitive. I don't have to go back and fix all my mother issues. That's in process, or all my father issues. All that's in process. We're working on it slowly but surely. But what I can do is I can nurture myself by getting my bladder and my kidney channel worked on with acupressure and body work and massage. And if I get that done and I keep my well filled, well water, ha ha ha, if I keep my well filled, then I won't be so oversensitive, and I'll be able to look at my friend and say, oh, this is what they really meant. This is where they came from. I'm able to look at them through an objective point of view and not through an emotional point of view. I'm able to accept them and love them for who they are. And I was able to do that by getting a massage on my back. Really? Who knew? But that's what happens. When we get our needs met, when we have some sort of a trigger, an emotional reaction, and we work on the weakest link, then the wisdom and the understanding come on the other side. It gets cleared up. So the beautiful thing about allowing the natural ebb and flow of, different elements being strong and different elements being weak is because it allows other parts and pieces of you to surface. If I never let myself get a little bit depleted, good morning, Carol. If I never let myself get a little bit depleted, I'd never deal with the issue of the sadness that had come upon me, of my friend who frequently does things which are kind of insensitive. I would have never addressed it with them because it would have been no big deal. I would have gotten over it. I would have moved on in life. I don't want to create conflict. But it would have never gotten resolved between the two of us, or at bare minimum, resolved within myself. I would have never come to that understanding. The wisdom would have never come. So, one of the beautiful things about imbalances, let's say, in our system, or weaker or stronger areas, is it allows different parts of us to surface so we can clean them up. So in this case, it allowed my sadness, which I normally don't feel, it allowed my sadness to come up so I could look at it. And it also drew attention to the fact of, oh, here's my little red flag. Here's my warning sign. I haven't been taking good enough care of myself. So the solution to my sadness is I'm going to have some more soups. I'm going to make sure I get more waters and more nourishment in me. I'm going to make sure I get some work done on my bladder channel and on my kidney channel. Good morning, Janine. I'm going to make sure that I get those physical things taken care of, and the sadness and the emotions will take care of themselves. So let me give another example of a friend of mine who's a client. My clients, I become so close to people because, it's a community, it's a friendship. We're in this together. So she was talking about how she's been eating more French fries lately. She's been stopping more often from French fries at fast food restaurants. And she's a fairly healthy, functional, balanced sort of human being. And her mind immediately went to, why am I eating so many French fries? Why am I doing this? It must be because the weather's getting cold and I need some comfort. But I don't know. My intuition says there's something else going on. Good. I'm glad you needed that, Ro. It's one of my favorite tools to, it's okay that things come up so we can deal with them. So for her, what came up was this French fry, coping mechanism. And as I said, she started to go down the direction of, why am I doing this? What's going on? Why am I eating these foods that are bad for me? And so we sat down and we looked at it. And I said, okay, well, let's go backwards. Why are you distracting yourself with your senses by eating French fries? What are you trying not to look at? And she says, I know exactly what it is. It's because my husband's interviewing for new jobs in another state, and I don't want to move because moving is really hard. Now, this is somebody who moved a lot as a kid. She was part of a military family, and so she moved all over the country. And usually she's fine with it. She's okay with it. But, it was also hard on her as a kid to constantly be getting new friends and having your environment change. And her family structure wasn't necessarily the greatest and most loving and supportive like most of ours. And so there was a little bit of, stuff going on, a little bit of anxiety and fear and hurt that she'd have to move again. That, good morning, Katerina. Normally, she would just cope with it, and she had great coping skills and never have to deal with it and look at it. So she said, "This is what's going on. What's going on is, I'm nervous about moving again." And I said, "Okay, here's how we're going to solve it." I said, "You're going to start remembering and looking at positive experiences you've had around moving," because her experiences as a kid were that this was difficult. But she's not a kid anymore. She's an adult, so she's got resources available to her. There's things she can do, besides the treat, the childhood treat of getting French fries. Because I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, it was a big deal to get French fries from a fast food place. Sad, I know, but oh well. It was a really big deal. So for her, she was comforting herself. She was going back into that area. So how did we work on this? We worked on it through the body, on a twofold sort of bent. Step number one was she had some really great body work done, and we were able to work on her meridians. We were able to, work on her whole system, as well as specific parts and pieces and acupressure points, as well as finding a substitute for the fat and the salt that she craved and the joy that she craved. Looking at what are some healthy fats you can eat. So, we landed on avocados, probably because I love avocados. Okay, you need some fat, you need some salt. How about guacamole? Let yourself have a little bit of healthy fat and, with some healthy, healthier sea salt, and where you get all the micronutrients and microminerals. And when you do these things, when you get your needs met in a healthy way, physically, then your emotions generally take care of take care of themselves. When she was a kid, she couldn't really, good morning, Jabber. She couldn't go out and, buy an avocado and make guacamole for herself. I mean, she was a kid. She had to deal with it, internalize it, and have these cravings. But now as an adult, she can make different choices, and it's bringing it out of the past and into the present, and making really good physical choices to support the whole process. Good morning, Jody. How nice to see you. To support the process. So we worked on helping her heal her French fry addiction through body work, as well as through recognizing what was really going on, that she still needed a little bit of comfort, and looking at healthy fats and healthy salts that she could do instead. And what then happens when you do that, when your system gets strong again, then you're able to work on the mental piece. Then you start seeing around you, oh yeah, I remember this move was pretty great. Oh yeah, and I've always wanted to move to Washington, D.C., and this is where we might be moving. How exciting and wonderful. She's able to focus on the positives instead of the drawbacks, instead of go back into the difficult and painful sorts of things. And the cold weather and the change in weather just helped push it just a little bit more over the edge. So that this thing which maybe had been controlling her, maybe had been making decisions for her deep in her subconscious, could be dealt with and could be cleaned up. I mean, what a gift. What an absolute gift. So when something happens emotionally, instead of, necessarily going forward and into the obsessive mindset, into the, round and round we go, instead of going to that place, we can go backwards. We don't have to go see, our therapist. We don't have to psychoanalyze ourselves to death. We don't have to come up with a million different mantras, that we say every day. We don't have to reframe everything. A lot of times we just have to deal with what part of our body we can access to deal with that emotion. As I said, acupressure points, they deal with thoughts, emotions, beliefs, physicality, all of that. So there are points on your body, on your meridians, that will help you deal with those emotions. Good morning, Allison. And then also dealing with it on the dietary or the physical point of view. So she was able to get touch. She was able to get her meridians and her acupressure points worked on. She was able to work on the food piece. And what tends to happen then on the other side is the healing and the wisdom comes as a side effect. When you deal with the weakest link in your system, the side effect is everything gets better, because remember, they're all connected. Ro, no, I don't offer acupuncture, but what I do offer is I do acupressure, and then I also do something called acutonics, which is using tuning forks to access, to vibrate the different acupressure points as well. So I find for me that it's less invasive and more fun and a little bit more 3D than acupuncture. But I definitely know a lot of acupuncture therapists, and it has a lot of wonderful benefits to it. I just like to go a little bit the softer route and the route that's a little bit more multidimensional, because I love the senses. I love how good body work makes me feel and how good it makes other people feel. And that interaction and that engagement for me, good morning, Carrie, that interaction and that engagement for me is what really fulfills me. It's why I'm passionate about what I do, because I love that big, soft interconnectedness. So the next time someone hurts your feelings, and it's perfectly normal and common, instead of spending a lot of time, maybe give yourself a timer of 10 minutes, instead of spending a lot of time in that head game, what happened? Why am I doing this? Where is this going on? Where does this come from? Oh my God. Instead of doing that, think about other parts in the system, and you will probably be able to point out, you probably already know where you're weakest and where you can shore that up. And when you shore it up, it'll take care of a lot of those other problems. So if you've got emotional issues you want to deal with, or physical issues, or energetic issues, or mental issues, or family issues, or past issues, or trauma issues, text me, message me, give me a call, come on in, and we'll sit down and we'll sort it out, and we'll come up with a plan of action on how you can use things which feel really good, which you enjoy, which for me, body work is. You get essential oils, and you get music, and you get conversation, and touch, and tea, and, it's awesome. It's fabulous. To me, it's the best route, the most fun route for healing. So if that's a route you want to go, if you're a pleasure junkie like me, then let me know. I also do stuff long distance, so we can do phone calls, we can do Skype, we can do emails, and we can figure it all out. So 815-245-9673, just to throw in my plug. And have a great rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow morning at 8:15. Comments, messages, sharing if you'd like, because I take it all in, and those will be future topics. And tomorrow, I think it's going to be the last one in the session of Metaphysical Energy. And not quite sure what the topic's going to be yet, but if you put some suggestions in the comment box, we'll look to see what turns out, what we do. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for joining me. Bye.